Hi everyone, welcome all of you to our YouTube channel. With the new year around the corner, it's a perfect time to start the year fresh with better financial habits. In this tutorial, I will teach you how to create a simple yet very useful expense tracker template in Microsoft Excel. Before jumping into today's tutorial, if you still haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that bell notification icon as well. That way you won't miss any updates from us. Also, if you would like to support our channel and if you would like access to exclusive tutorials and templates, don't forget to become a member of our Patreon community. The link is mentioned in the description. Don't forget to follow our LinkedIn community page and like our Facebook page to stay tuned with the latest update. Another thing, this video might be a bit lengthy, therefore if you only want to watch a specific part of this video, we got you covered. We have included all the major timestamps in the description of this video. Cool, without further ado, let's jump into Excel and see what we are doing today. Okay, so this is the output of the expense tracker template that I am going to teach you today. Here we have a simple log of the transactions that I have, of the expenses that I have incurred so far for the month of December. And then in this area you can see there's a column to include the date, and then there's a short description field, and column C holds the expense amount, which is the most critical attribute in this data, and then the expense category, the corresponding category that this expenditure belongs to, right? Here, one thing to note is when we talk about expense categories, I have identified about 15 main expense categories based on my personal expenditures, and then I have used a drop-down list in Excel to smoothly pull in the particular expense category for that corresponding expense, right? For an example, in this case, it's a car loan, so it belongs to the expense category car. Therefore, I can quickly use the drop-down menu here to pick the accurate expense category for this. Alright. Likewise, for rent, I have a category called rent, and likewise, you can have as many categories as you want. Okay. And those categories are mentioned in this expenses list tab, which I will come to later. Alright. Also in the output tab, we have a total expenditure value here. This will provide you visibility of your total expenditure for that current month. This will come in really handy when you are using this in your day-to-day life. The other thing here is another table, which is a sort of a pivot table of this main table in your left-hand side. This groups all the expenses that you incurred for that particular month into these main expense categories that we have identified. For an example, for car, the total expenditure is $350, which is this. If you go to fuel, it's $140 because if you see, on 16th of December, I have spent $75 for fuel, and also on 28th of December, I have again spent $65 for fuel, and the total of this adds up to $140. So likewise, it kind of summarizes all the expenses into this, like I have about 15 categories here, or for these 15 categories. And in column H, you have the budget column, which is the allocated budget for that particular expense category for that month. For an example, for the month of December, I have allocated $400 for car related expenses. And for the month of December, I have allocated $100 for eat outs, right? Likewise, you can also mention your budget here. That way it will help you to track your expenses, right? Column I is the difference. This is where having the budget column comes in handy. Here, this difference column subtracts the actual expense that you incurred from the allocated budget, right? For an example, the difference is $50 here because the actual expenditure for car related expenses is $350 and the budgeted one is $400. Therefore, 400 minus 350 is $50. And the cool thing in this difference column is if for a particular expense category you are exceeding your budget, it will show that amount in red, right? Here for fuel, our budget is only $70, but we have spent $140. That is twice of the allocated budget. And therefore, in the difference value shows as 70, but it's showing in red, right? That really helps you to quickly spot the areas where you are exceeding your allocated budget. Cool. And then Here we have a simple chart that will help you to quickly spot the distribution of your monthly expenses. Here, for an example, you have rent as the largest expense that you incurred. It's a clustered bar chart. You can see the allocated budget in orange color and the actual expenditure amount in the blue color. Okay, this is what we are going to create today. So let's jump into work. Cool. So start things off. Here, this is the output tab. I will just copy the expenses information to my working tab. I will copy them here, just paste as values, right? And then, okay, I know this looks a bit creepy. Let's try to convert it into a date format. Now my first three columns are date, description, and amount. I will go here, paste those things as well. I will left indent everything. For starters, let's handle these date values. I'll go to number formatting, go to date, and then this is the format that I like, but feel free to pick any date format that you prefer. I'll hit OK. Now, nice, we have cool date format, and then the description is fine. We are happy with this. And for the amounts, I would like this in the currency format. I click this data, select this data range, and I will go to currency. Basically, here I won't be having negative numbers for because these are my expenditures. Therefore, I can pick any format that I like. But if you have any negative numbers in a currency field, it's good to use something like this, because whenever the value is negative, it will indicate that it's a negative using red values and sometimes using parentheses, right? But in this case, I am not worrying about negative numbers. I am using any format that I like. I will hit OK. And then the expense category. This is the important one. Category. Here, what you want to do is we want to create a drop-down list, right? In order to do the drop-down list, first I will select this entire column, because since this is an expense tracker, beforehand you cannot predict the number of expense values that you will enter this template each month, right? Sometimes it could be 50 expenses. In some months, like December, the festive month, it will be like 100 expenses. So it varies in a very broad range. Therefore, it's a good idea to use the entire column as the cell reference in all your cell references in this expense tracker template, right? I selected the entire column. I'll go to data. Okay, before doing that, let me do one thing. This is where my expenses list is. First, I will sort this list in the alphabetical order, right? I'm still in the data tab, so I will click this one. It will sort A to Z, lowest to highest. See, now this is nicely sorted. I have 15 expense categories in total. I'll go to the working tab again. I will select the entire column. And then I will go to the data validation. And in the data validation dialog box, I will select in the validation criteria, I can allow not any value. I will allow a value from this list, right? And then the source, where is the source list? I will pick this up arrow, and then I will go to the expense list. This is my list. And I will hit enter. Okay. Now it picked the expenses list as the source, and I will hit enter. Now you can see, you can select anything, education, home items, whatever the expense category that you prefer, right? For this case, it's car actually here. And then rent is rent, obviously. Mobile plan falls under telco and utilities. In your case, you might have mobile bills, a category called mobile bills. That's fine. It's totally according to your preference, and your categories doesn't need to be mine. Cool. Home Wi-Fi again falls under telco and utilities, and I will populate the list accordingly. Cool. Now that I have populated the categories, I will use the same formatting for cell D1, which is the header row for category. I will go to Format Painter and I will paste the formattings, and I will add a filter as well to this range. Hit Ctrl-Shift-L to apply a quick filter. That way you can filter by description, filter by date, or whatever the attribute that you want. Alright, so what's up next? In the output, we have to create this total expenditure value. I will go to here. I will type total expenditure expenditure, and then for total expenditure also, I will sum up the entire column C. Hit sum. Just select the entire column C because you never know the number of expenses that you will enter for this template for a given month. Close the parenthesis, hit enter. The total expenditure is this, and we have added some nice formattings to it. Let's do the same. For total expenditure, I will add the neutral formatting, and for this, since this is an output, I will add the output formatting style, and this is also a currency. I will hit this quick formatting. So now it's a currency, and I will freeze the top row. I'll go to view, freeze spends, freeze top row. This way, no matter how many cells you scroll down, still your header row and the total expenditure row stays on top. This will provide you the visibility of the total expenditure amount for that current month. Cool. What's next? Now we have to create this table. Expense category, actual, budget, difference, this one. So I will copy the header row to save the time. I will paste them as values, and then the expense category. These ones, these are the expense categories I have. I will paste them here, and then the actual expense value, total expense value for that particular category for that month, right? In order to get this value, we can use the SUMIF formula in Excel. Here's how we can do it. Equal SUMIF. Usually what SUMIF does is SUMIF adds up a particular range of values based on a given criteria. Alright, that is what SUMIF does. In a way, it acts like a pivot table as well. Here, the range here is the cell range where Excel will look for the category that you are interested in. In this case, my category is these are the expense categories that I am interested in, and those categories are included in column D. So I will give the entire, I will select from D2 until the end of the sheet, right? And that is, I will make that an absolute reference. And then criteria is the value that you are searching. In this case, it's the expense category. I will select the cell F5 and then the sum range. This is where Excel will find the numbers to add up, right? So here my values are present in column C in the amount column. Therefore, I will give it refer to the entire column. I will fix that cell reference as well to make it absolute cell references. Now I am closing the parentheses to complete the formula. Now you can see the actual expense, actual amount. Let's make it actual amount. That is more meaningful. Actual amount is $350. Now I have copied down the formula to the entire, or to cover all the expense categories. And let's, for all these three columns, let's change the number formatting to currency. Hit OK. Now let's left indent these things. Now you can see for car it's 350. For fuel it should be 140. See, it's 140 because there are two fuel records. Okay. Now the budgeted amount, for the budget also, I will copy and paste these values to save our time here. Now you have the budget and the difference. I will just subtract the column G from column H, right? Hit enter. Now you have the difference. In fact, I don't like how this is formatted. Let me again format. It's not the accounting style I want the currency style. Cool. Now it is up to my standards. Okay, left in and white is not. Okay, cool. Now let's add some formatting here. I will use some contrast values, and then for the difference I will be using something like this, and I will change the font color to white. Hit enter. All right. Now we need to add the total row, right? I will type total, actual amount, just sum the entire cell range, hit enter, and I will drag this formula horizontally to copy the values, copy the formula to the other cells to get the other totals for budget and difference. right? Now you can see the actual expenditure amount is $1,988.24 and the budgeted expense amount is $2,430, and gladly for this month we have a surplus from our budget, meaning we have $440 left from the allocated budget. So I would say that's a good thing. Cool. And now let me right indent these two as well, and I will do some formattings. I will bold them. I will add a bottom double. I'll first add a top border, then I will add a bottom double border so that these total values stand out from the rest of the values. Alright, now we are done with most part of our expense tracker. Let's see what is left. Okay, this is the cool part, getting our chart. Just a heads up, in this particular tutorial we won't be doing a deep dive into charts in Excel. That will be done in a different tutorial in the future, but in this tutorial I will simply walk you through how we can generate these two particular charts based on this data, right? As you can see in the output tab, both of these charts are based on this data range only, right? This one is also based on this, and this pie chart is also based on this data range. I will go to working. First, let's get the clustered bar chart. I will select this is the data range that I want the chart from. I'll go to insert. I will hit, let's hit recommended charts. Yeah, see, the first recommendation is this clustered bar because Excel is smart enough to understand the data and suggest the most appropriate chart for our data, right? In this case, it would be a clustered bar chart, and I totally accept that recommendation. That makes sense. I'll hit OK. Now we got a sample chart. So this is what we have. Let me increase the height of this chart so that all the categories, expense categories are visible. Let's add a chart title, expense breakdown or distribution, and I will bold the text. And then what else we can do for this chart? Something to do is, if you don't like this particular style of this chart, you can always go to this chart design tab under the chart tools group, and then pick any design you want. If you want something fancy, you can pick something like this, and if you want something simpler like me, something minimalistic, you can stick with a design like this, right? And you can do all sorts of formattings to this chart. For an example, let me do some simple formattings, some simple changes actually. I will go to chart options. If you want to add a legend, yes, you can add. Actually, the legend is already here, so there's no point in adding a legend. Let me go to this chart area, and maybe you want to change the values, right? Change the colors. See, you can change the colors. I don't like that color actually. Let me, budget should be maybe in green, right? See, now it looks better, I would say. Likewise, you can do all sorts of changes to these Excel charts. And let's create the pie chart as well. To create the pie chart, I will only select these two columns. Remember, to create the clustered bar, I created the three columns. But to create the pie chart, I will only pick the two columns. And I will go to insert, go to recommended charts. So here, we don't get the pie chart as a recommended chart by default. So we'll have to go to the all charts tab, go to pie, and then select the pie chart. If you want a donut chart, you can pick that as well. And if you want something like a 3D pie chart, you can use that as well. Here, I just want a simple pie chart. I'll hit OK. And now I got the pie chart. Let me move this two down and keep this here. By default, it gives you the legend, but I want the data labels here. So I will click this plus icon to add or remove chart elements. Here, you can see data labels is unticked, so I will tick it. Now you get the data labels. We got the data labels, but I don't like the way they look. I just want a percentage of the total expenditure, right? Something like that. Let me select these data labels, and I will go to label options. Label contains value. Let's untick values and tick percentage. Cool. See, now we got the percentages, and let me bold the text. And actually, I don't like the location of this legend actually. Since it's a lengthy legend, it eats up a lot of space in my chart area. Therefore, I will move it to the right side. I will click the legend. The moment you click legend, it gives you the legend options dialog. There's a set of radio buttons. You can pick top, bottom, left, right, or top, right. I will click right. See, now our pie chart is much bigger. And for this larger pie, I don't like this green color. Let me select that pie, particular pie only. And I will go to the color in the series options. The moment that you click any chart element, the format chart sidebar takes you to that particular, to the properties of that particular element only, right? For an example, if you click on the legend, it takes you to the legend options. If you go to the click on the chart title, it takes you to the title options. Likewise, the moment you click on the pie, it takes you to the series options. Series options is where you change everything related to the content in this pie chart. But I don't want just the series options. I only want this pie, right? Therefore, I click on it again, and then I am on that particular pie. Instead of green, let's give it something like gray. Yeah, that looks better. Cool. So that is the pie chart, and let me copy the title from our previous clustered bar chart to the pie chart. Nice. So like similar to the output, let's move it up and let's keep it down. Also, when it comes to chart, I just wanted to tell you guys this. You can use a pie chart when your categories, the number of categories is less. As a rule of thumb, as statisticians and data analysts, if the category is less than 5, if the number of categories are less than 5, then we use pie chart, because that way pie chart is really easy to read. But when you have a lot of categories, in this case we have 15 categories, expense categories. In a scenario like this, pie chart might not be the ideal way to represent your data. In such cases, you may use bar charts, clustered bar charts. There are a lot of types of charts that you can use in a case where you have a lot of categories, right? In this case, that is why I used both the chart options. First, the clustered bar chart. See, it is really easy to read and it gives you the information that you want to know in a snapshot. Pie chart, it's not bad, but it's not as good as the clustered bar chart, I would say, right? So it's totally up to your preference. I'm a person who prefers pie charts and donut charts more, but due to the practical reasons for this expense tracker, I would say clustered bar chart would be ideal, but again, it's totally up to your preference. Let's go to the output tab to see if we have missed anything. I think we are all good here. Yeah. All right. So that is what I had for today's tutorial. I suppose you guys got a really good understanding on how to create a simple yet powerful expense tracker in Microsoft Excel. Also, one thing to note, now this is a monthly template, right? If you want to create the expense tracker for the next month, you just have to create a copy, get a copy, move or copy of this tab, create a copy, move to end, and then just rename it maybe 2025 Jan, and then remove all this information and start from scratch. That is how you can reuse this expense tracker template. Alright, now it's time to wrap up today's tutorial. If you guys enjoyed today's tutorial, please hit the like button and don't forget to share it among your friends as well. And if you still haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell notification icon as well, so that you do not miss any of the updates. Thank you so much for watching. See you in our next video. Take care.